guys, it's Sam. Welcome back to VLOGMAS. Today I wanted to do a video talking about a topic that I've been thinking about for like months now, and that is kind of the state of Booktube as I see it. So before we get into it, I hate disclaimers, but I feel like if I don't put them out there, then people can potentially misunderstand what I'm doing here. This is based on what I see, and I know that I am not representative of all of Booktube. I know that there are probably plenty of people doing things differently. I know that everyone's perception of the Booktube community is gonna be different because not only is it a niche community, but there are different sort of like subsections, and YouTube algorithm and like search and whatever makes it basically impossible to try to get an overarching view on like Booktube and things, because there's people that have been creating for years that I've probably never stumbled across because they do not pop up in algorithms. They are like in a separate sort of side of Booktube genre, maybe that they read, whatever. So just know that this is not me saying that this is absolute fact and that this is true in every single niche of Booktube, but I kind of want to talk about, since I've been on Booktube a while, not an OG, but like a second waver, if you will. There was like the people that started way back in like, I don't know, like 2010, and I came around in like 2014, right? When it was like really starting to take off. So I've been around a hot minute. It's been 8 years. Wild to me. I just want to talk about like what I've been seeing as far as the changes, what I've experienced as a creator and a viewer, what some of my friends and I have talked about as far as like the state of Booktube, things like that. So let's just get out of the way, this whole idea of like Booktube is dying. I don't think Booktube is dying, and I've mentioned this before. However, I do think it is morphing in the same way that blogs did when Booktube started getting bigger. So classic Booktube to me is what I had when I first started, like how Booktube was when I first started, from like a creator and from a viewer angle, because I was a viewer first. I think everyone is going to think that what they first encountered when they first entered an online community is like the classic version of that, right? So people that came in after me or before me are probably gonna have a different opinion about what Booktube used to look like based on where it was when they joined. And what I remember is there were bigger sort of like trendsetters that sort of like set the stage for what we consider Booktube, and a lot of people would emulate their content, their videos, things like that. That was like the OG people, right? The people who like started Booktube kind of, I mean, there's not like one person that started Booktube, but the people that were very popular and were the first people to get like over 100,000 subscribers, like Christine, Jesse, Kat, Ariel. But those creators really started the trends of, and like the framework of TBRs, wrap-ups, and those kinds of videos as being like the bread and butter staples of Booktube. Also, those were creators that a lot of people, when they started, to their detriment, I think, a lot of people I noticed when I was starting would try to almost emulate those creators' personalities, those creators' brands, if you will. So you saw a lot of sameness for a while there, and I think people started to kind of get the clue that like, hey, it's not really like the creator's energy that is replicatable? replicable, but you know, having your own personality, and you can do some of these like archetypal videos, and that's fine. Then we saw the rise of book tags. Honestly, for me, book tags were like the best because it was content that was easy. It was content that you used to make friends. You would tag people in your book tags, and it was kind of like a, hey, I want to be friends with you. Like that was like kind of the thing. So then book tags became a thing, and book tags used to permeate like the entire platform. Like everyone was doing certain kinds of book tags and things like that. Like certain ones would get really popular and everyone would do them. Then we had the rise of book clubs and readathons, read-alongs, things like that. That became, everyone started having a read-along. Everyone like was creating, I mean, self-included, and I still have them, like readathons and stuff. Everyone was doing them. That became the big thing that everyone wanted to do, and another like community engagement thing. Now, in the last handful of years, what I've noticed is a lot of people, both creators and viewers, who were heavily into Booktube, I would say like the 3 years of like maybe 2014 to like 2018 was kind of like this time period. And then people kind of started tapering off and really started tapering off in like 2020, I would say, with the rise of TikTok and like Book Talk. So since then, I've seen, again, myself as a creator and as a viewer, me as a viewer, I barely watch Booktube content anymore. One, because short form content has become like such the like prevailing content for our brains these days, and because a lot of people that I've followed over the years have stopped creating content. So many people, I mean, I probably used to subscribe to like 30 people that I would watch consistently, and now 25 of those people are gone. And what I've noticed for myself as a viewer is I will try to go out and find new creators and new content and things, because I know people are still joining the platform and it's still a thing. Like I said, I don't believe it's dying. But what I've noticed is, one, like I mentioned at the beginning, it's really hard to find creators. I've asked for recommendations from people, more so for me, and what a lot of people in my Discord were talking about. I have a Patreon, we have a Discord, we chat a lot in there. The link is down below if you want to join us. A lot of people were talking about there that they don't necessarily follow people even these days for their recommendations, but more for their personality, and people they've been following for a very long time. So I feel that's true as well. I follow people mostly for their personality at this point, and maybe for like creativity of videos, and I don't necessarily see that when I try to find new creators or just new to me creators. And at this point, I don't really need recommendations so much anymore, because I'm so saturated in this space, whether it's between like Booktube and like Book Twitter a little bit, although Book Twitter is dying because Twitter is dying, and like Book Talk, that I don't really like need new recommendations. I more so want to find personalities and people that I trust, and that's slightly harder to find. So to summarize that whole point, less people are making content from like the people that I used to follow, and people aren't following people for like the same reasons anymore. What I have also noticed, and please feel free to correct me or say like what your niche is doing, but what I've noticed and what's been really challenging for me as a content creator is the types of videos that are very popular on Booktube are slightly changing, not completely, they're on the same spectrum, but they're changing a lot. So we still have like hauls and TBRs and wrap-ups, and those will always be the bread and butter of Booktube content, because that's just that's how you talk about books, right? However, what I've noticed with the people who are really big now, like some of the bigger creators who have recently risen to sort of like fame, I guess, in the last couple of years, is longer form content, lots more reading vlogs, live reading sprints, and reading vlogs based around a certain theme. So people reading such and such celebrities' favorite books, people reading the Book Talk's favorite books, people reading the first 5 books they found on Kindle Unlimited, like all of these sort of like themey reading vlogs, which again give people more of a personality, is a complete antithesis to short form content because it is so long, a reading vlog style, but also having to read a lot of books in a short amount of time. There's also been a rise of, and this has always been true, like a sort of negative content about books or about anything always is going to get a lot of views, so it's always been around, not even necessarily as a view generator, although people always like point their finger and are like, you're only saying that negative thing to get views, but more so because it's like kind of fun to talk about, and then it also happens to get views as like a secondary thing. At least it's how I feel as a creator. But I've been seeing a lot of like, I read this shitty book so you don't have to videos as well. And what's been hard for me as a creator is like, I don't really necessarily want to make some of that content, or I can't. I love reading sprints. I want to do more of those in video format. So I hate Twitter sprints. I've talked about this before, but one of the banes of my existence as Tome Topple host and like creator is people love reading sprints on Twitter, and I despise them on Twitter. I love a reading sprint live. I love a reading sprint on Twitch, on YouTube Live, on Instagram Live, wherever. A read with me, if you will, live stream. Perfect. I want to do more of those, and I've noticed that there are people who do those more consistently, and that's sort of what they're known for. A lot of people are doing them. It's not like some like one person's brand or anything, but I love that. However, some of these other videos, like reading a horrible book so you don't have to, or reading like a vlog around a certain theme, I've always really enjoyed the vlog around a certain theme videos. I just don't have the reading pace to necessarily do that. I read fairly fast. I mean, as you guys know, I read probably between like 7 to 10 to 12, depending on the length of the books and the type of books, a month. And I still like can't, because a lot of those videos, they're reading 5 or 6 books, and that would be like the whole month for me, or most of the month, right? And then I wouldn't really have anything else to necessarily talk about besides what's in that vlog, and that just is a little too narrow for me. So yeah, those kinds of videos I just feel like are not open to me, even though they are very popular. And then the videos of I read such and such books so you don't have to, no. Because as you guys know, I don't hate read books unless I get into it thinking I'm gonna like a book and then figure out that I hate it. But going into a book knowing that I hate it, I only do very rarely, and usually it's for book club. So those are not something I'm interested in. But those are the types of videos that are getting more views. So as a creator, it can be a little challenging because I don't I'm not somebody that really wants to like change my content for views, but there is something disappointing about seeing your views go down and seeing your engagement go down, especially because Booktube has always been a platform for engagement and for building community for me, and seeing that go away is disappointing. And it is kind of like, oh, you guys don't like me anymore. Which is fine, people move on. I've had a lot of people tell me, especially like if they've left like the Patreon community, for example, they're like, I'm not even reading anymore. You know, like that's fair. But as far as like my overarching thing that I talked about at the beginning, as far as like the state of Booktube, I do think that like this Booktube as the antithesis to short form content is going to continue to be a thing. And I do want to make a more concerted effort myself to not be on TikTok as much as I am as far as a watcher, and watch more long form content to like retrain my brain to not just be like dopamine all the time. So I'd like to find some more creators on YouTube in general, whether it's Booktube or other things, that I will engage with a little bit more. However, I do think Booktube is entering, and has been entering, the phase of we are no longer the top social media platform for books. We're just not. This cycle has happened before and will be fine. This is what happened when Booktube took over blogging. Bloggers still exist and have been existing for a while, but bloggers used to be the big book reviewers. All the big book reviewers had a blog, a written blog. Then it moved to Booktube. Booktube was like the new flashy thing. It was a way for people to access book content in a different way, for people that preferred videos and preferred making videos and whatever. Neither one is better than the other, they're just different. Now, we sort of had a little bit of this with Instagram, but Instagram still served a different purpose. So I didn't really feel like Instagram was a giant competitor for Booktube, but now we have BookTok completely eclipsing Booktube. And that's fine. It doesn't mean that Booktube is dead. It just means that most people, when they're starting to be like a bookish creator now, are probably gonna wanna turn to BookTok, just because that is one of the most used platforms, TikTok. Everyone is using TikTok these days. Not everyone, but a lot of people. It's getting recognition. You're seeing BookTok tables at bookstores, things like that. So I feel like much like Booktube used to be the platform people would turn to, now it's BookTok. Short form content is king at the moment, things like that. And eventually there will be a social media platform that will topple BookTok. This is just the cycle of how things go. So no, I don't think Booktube is dying. We are going to stay around the same way that blogs have stuck around, but we are no longer like the top place to get book recommendations, like as a general rule. Obviously there's still gonna be people that are like, I only turn to Booktube, but BookTok as a general rule is the prevailing one right now. So what does that mean for content creators here? I don't know. I still think long form content has a place. I will still continue to make long form content. I like it. I am also making BookTok content, and I really like that for different reasons, and I've talked about that in videos more recently as well. If you don't follow me on BookTok yet, feel free. It's just easier to upload content there, respond quicker. That's just like kind of where the heart, in my opinion, of the book community is right now. And so that's kind of where I hang out the most at this point and get most of my recommendations. But I will continue to make content here. I think YouTube is a better space for content creators in general, so I don't plan on leaving here anytime soon. And yeah, I do plan on expanding my content like a little bit in that, like I said, reading sprints kinds of things, because I think that's fun, and that's sort of the way these days to build community engagement. So if you're excited about reading sprints, leave an emoji. Look at me, leave an emoji. Leave like a little a purple heart emoji down below if you would watch reading sprints on YouTube, because that's what I plan on doing. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the current state of Booktube. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, your guys' thesis on the state of Booktube and everything. Again, everyone has sort of a different niche community, so let me know what's going on like your side of Booktube. Let me know how you watch Booktube these days, who you're watching, who you think the trendsetters are, if there even are any. I would argue there's not. All that kind of stuff. Let me know. I find it fascinating. It's like a sociological experiment, right? Like a little fishbowl that is Booktube. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all guys soon. Bye.